Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this information session for our upcoming South Regional Track meet. My name is John Skees, and I'm the Director of Media for TAPS. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes, but first I've got two housekeeping items to cover with you. So first of those, this webinar is being recorded. You're going to receive an email with a link to that recording as soon as it's ready. That should be early this afternoon. Second, if you have any questions as we go through today's presentation, please use the questions feature on the GoToWebinar interface. We're going to try to answer those as they come, but there's a general Q&A session at the end if you think of something later or if we don't get to your question right away. But if we don't get to your question today, or if it's just too specific to answer appropriately in this venue, please send us an email or call us at the office once the webinar is over. That's info@taps.biz. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brian. I'm joined today by Brian Bunselmeyer, TAPS Executive Director, Robert Huckabee, TAPS Associate Director and Director of Compliance, Steve Prudhomme, TAPS Associate Director, and Will Dixon from the TAPS office is helping us out behind the presentation today. And with that, Brian is going to get us started. Brian.
Thank you for joining us here today for the South Regional Track webinar. It sounds really good to be able to say that. I keep in my mind thinking we had track last year. Unfortunately, COVID came and wiped that opportunity away. So it has been 2 years since we've hosted a regional track meet. We're so excited to be back in the track business. We're looking forward to regional and state. This will take the place of our coaches meeting that we would normally have when you arrive on site. Try to give you a little information ahead of time so that you'll understand the do's and don'ts and what to do when you get there and what to do when you leave. So we're, again, very thankful that we're able to say track is back in TAPS, and we're grateful that we're able to have the regional track meet at Bastrop. It has been a struggle for TAPS all year long finding venues that will accept us for not only one day, but maybe 2 or 3 like regional track. And we're just so thankful for Bastrop for stepping up for us. So, Robert, if you'll walk us through the info on where to find it on the TAPS website, you and Will navigate that, then we'll come back for some more information.
All right, thank you, Brian. Welcome, everyone. Will, if you will, there you go. Jump over to that TAPS website. This is our main website you all are well familiar with. All your track and field regional information, click on that athletics tab at the top there. That will take you to all of our athletics. Look at spring down at the bottom there. We have track and field. Click on that. That's our main track and field page where we'll have information for our regional and our championship meets. If you click on that green button, regional meet information, that will take you to the main page that has our information there up at the top. We have our North Regional Track information. We just concluded that webinar a few minutes ago. You guys are at the South Regional Track meet, which will be Bastrop Memorial Stadium. We've been there before. It's a great facility. They are a very good host for us. There's a map to the facility. At the end of this webinar, we'll be updating that tab that has a map of the facility. We'll go over that here in just a few minutes. If you're in 3A, 4A, you would click on those buttons there. That will be your schedule for the day. If you're in 1A, notice there's a new note there. It says no 1A prelims. We've had our 1A entries come in as of yesterday. In looking at those entries, it will not be necessary to have 1A prelims on that first day, that Tuesday the 20th. You'll come in on Wednesday the 21st and you'll have your meet. We'll go over that in a little more detail, but it will not be necessary for 1A to come in the afternoon of the 20th for your prelims. Let's click on that page there, 3A, 4A, just so our viewers can see. When you click on that, here's your basic regional track information. If you've seen that, that's great. You have that information. If not, when we're done and before the meet, take a look at that and scroll through there. That's got all your information about entries, spectators, team areas, all those kinds of things that are relevant for you coming in as a coach and for your team members. Also a schedule there. We'll go over all that in a little more detail as we go through the webinar, but just want you to be familiar with and know where to find that basic track and field information. Brian?
As we look at the dates, it's going to be next Tuesday, April 20th for the 3A, 4A finals. As a reminder, there are no 1A prelims. Let's address that real quick for our 1A audience. There will be several heated finals. So you will come in, especially in the 100 and 200, there will be time finals heats. They will count as finals, but we will not have the prelims the day before like we have in the past. Even in the throws, which is the only other opportunity we had for prelims, we will double flight and then peel back to the top 8 for the final 3 throws. So we've got a plan in place so April the 20th on Tuesday, 3A, 4A. April 21st, 1A, 2A, and April 22nd on Thursday, our 5A, 6A. We've had the question several times why we're off of Friday and Saturday like we started. As a reminder for those of you in the bigger track world, you know that the UIL is hosting their regional meets on Friday and Saturday, made it extremely hard for us to get not only good officials, but to get any officials. So our officials had asked, so we complied in order to get the officials for each heat and each meet, April 20, 21, and 22. As you look at the location and we drop down to Bastrop Memorial Stadium, yes, it's out in the middle of nowhere. It is west of Bastrop, so there's the address, 755 Texas 21 in Cedar Creek. Bastrop has got a great little stadium, and they are allowing us to come this year, so we're extremely excited to be out there. Again, it is a few miles from everywhere, so make sure before you leave Bastrop or Austin or whatever, you buy your water or whatever you may need to stock up for your kids' food. Parking and maps, you're going to jump out there. This is going to be posted on the website, but you are coming off the State Highway 21. Everybody will peel off into the main parking lots. On the east side is where the teams will park. On the east side are the team areas. The spectators will park in front, and everybody, all your spectators are coming in that front gate. So they'll come in that way. As you can see in red, all of the implement opportunities except for the high jump are outside, out back. So we were there a couple of years ago. If you were there then, congratulations on making it back, and we'll make a return visit. If you're new, when you get there, it'll become very apparent where the shot the disc. The pole vault is only going to go one way. The winds are looking good, so I think we'll be all right. This map will be posted on the TAPS website once we conclude this webinar today. So team parking on the east side as you come in, make sure you put your buses, minivans, etc. over there. Don't come all the way down that east side run. You'll come in and make an immediate left there to take care of business. Robert, hit us with what the timeline, what we're thinking, and how that's going to play out.
All right, thank you, Brian. Facility will open at 7 a.m. each morning. So the morning of your particular meet, the facility will open at 7 a.m. At 7:30, we'll have our coaches registration. That will be open. That will be on the home side bleachers. There will be an area underneath there. That'll be your registration area. Hospitality will be in that area. Your implement check-in, all those things will be in that main general area. If you've been there before, you're familiar with that. If not, just go to the home side of the stadium and you'll find that easily. 7:30, we will begin implement check-in. Check-in will begin at 7:30. We'll talk more about implements and forms here in just a minute. At 8:30, please note this, it's in red for a reason. At 8:30, the implement check-in closes. So regardless of when you might throw throughout the day on that schedule, make sure somebody has dropped off all your implements before 8:30. We'll be checking those. We'll talk about that more later, but we need them all there so that we can impound those and get them out to the site with the appropriate events. At 8:45, our field events will begin. At 9:30, we'll have our first call for the 3200, and at 9:45, we will run the 3200. At 2:30, we should be clear of all our field events. Have had maybe a few minutes to catch up, and we'll be issuing the first call for our running finals that we can begin then at 2:45.
So in the past, we've said 30 minutes after the last field event finishes, we are publishing a hard schedule. At 2:30, you'll have your first call, and at 2:45, your running finals begin. We're going to ask that you have your students at the heat tent when that call is made. When we walk you out onto the track, that's your last opportunity. If they walk before you get to the heat tent, you will be disqualified from that event. So make sure first call, second call, make sure when they walk you out, you're ready to walk out. The other thing that's going to come important is we're going to be pushing the field events. There's only 4 blocks on those field events, so we will be pushing you through as you go to try to make sure that we are done by 2:30. So that schedule is a general schedule, but the 2 numbers that you really need to remember, 2:45 for the running finals and 8:30 for implement check-in.
Coaches registration, as I mentioned earlier, you will check in there under the home side bleachers. We'll have an area for that. You'll come pick up your packet. In that packet, you'll have information including your heat sheet for the day, a map of the facility. You will also, as we've done throughout all of our events this year that we've hosted, Coach, you'll sign a COVID affirmation form for us. We will have those forms there available. You'll be affirming that you, your staff, managers, trainers, all of your athletes are good to go COVID-wise on the day of the event. Also, if you have any vaulters, we'll have a pole vault certification form. You'll complete that there and leave that with us, so we have that in our possession before any of our pole vault warm-up or competition begins. Steve?
Well, we're talking about schedule. We have a couple of questions. I think one is just making sure there are no prelims for 2A. And also, are we on our rolling schedule, or how would you define our schedule?
There are no prelims for 2A. We also don't have any prelims for 1A. They'll all be finals on the day of that meet. We will have a rolling schedule as best we can for the field events. We have them in blocks. We've separated them to avoid conflicts as much as we can. But when those officials finish that particular event, they will then begin warm up and begin the process of moving on to the next event. So you'll need to keep an eye on that. That will be a rolling schedule. We don't put specific times on those. In a minute, we're going to talk about the field event scheduling conflicts. We'll help you work through that and answer some of those questions as well.
And on the running schedule, it's going to be girls, girls, boys, boys. So 3A girls will run an event, then 4A girls will run, followed by 3A boys and 4A boys. So there are 4 heats where we have them, where we have enough to have them. There's 4 heats. On the pole vault, going back to that, just as a reminder, we will combine classifications if the numbers warrant. If there's only 6 total vaulters or 9 total vaulters, we may combine 3A and 4A boys or 3A and 4A girls. We will not combine genders. So we may combine classifications, but we would not combine genders. Same thing may be true in the high jump, especially depending on what our numbers warrant as far as advancing out of district. And on that, advancing to the regional meet, qualification is through your district meet. Some of y'all are performing today and tomorrow, so hopefully you'll hear this on the recording. So whatever the published qualification is, that's how you get there through the district meet. You do not need to go back into athletic.net or any other process. Those advancers will come straight to us. Again, 1A is straight to regionals. Those entries are now closed. So as we prepare for that, we will let you know when those are going to be posted. One thing that is important to remember as you advance to regionals is the withdrawal process. If you have students that qualify in an individual meet event, but you're looking at pulling them for performance reasons or for other reasons from those events, then we will have a withdrawal process. Robert, walk us through that process real quick.
All right, thank you, Brian. If you have somebody who's out and they're out entirely, be sure to let us know so we can get them out of the meet. And obviously, if they're out entirely, they wouldn't be looking to compete anywhere else in the meet. But we do have a withdrawal process from your district to your regional meet. If you from district, you qualified for the regional meet and you're in the regional meet, there is a process where if you need to pull an individual from an event, we need you to complete a form and let us know you're doing that. Back on that track page under regional information, there's 2 withdrawal forms there. We're not going to jump there, but you can find those. There's one for withdrawing from district to regional. There's one withdrawing from regional to state. Please fill out that form. On this particular slide, we say in advance of a deadline, which is 12 noon on Monday. For you in the South, all of your meets will or should be completed by this weekend. So if you can get that to us by Saturday, that would be great. We'll get ahead of our entries and finalizing things for our regional meets. We say on the form and we say on here, deadline is 12 noon on Monday. But if you've already had your meet and you know of those changes, get those to us, please, by Saturday so we can make those changes. If you do not fill out that form by those deadlines, then the fair effort rule is in effect. Once that deadline comes and goes, the fair effort rule is in effect. And if you pulled an individual out of an individual event, then they would be out of the meet entirely. We'll go over the fair effort rule here in a little bit in more detail. The same process applies from the regional to the state meet. Once we conduct our regional meets next week, If you have an athlete that qualified for state, but you need to pull them for some reason, there's a separate form on there that you fill out for that change, and we need those by noon on that following Saturday, the 24th. Brian?
It's extremely important if you're pulling athletes from events or from the meet, if you can get that information to us just as soon as possible so that we can also call up the next advancer. So, you know, there's usually somebody and it would be the next place. So if you withdrew the second place, if your runner was in second place at your district meet, but they're not going to compete at the regional, we definitely want to call up that fifth place or whatever and give them an opportunity to compete. So the earlier we know, the better. And especially if you're pulling somebody from an entire track meet. Now, when Robert talks about the fair effort rule, we'll come in and talk about how that applies on game day as well, or tournament day. So Robert, talk to us about the fair effort rule.
Okay, the fair effort rule might be one of the most misunderstood rules in all of track, so let us help you work through that if this becomes an issue. In short, what the fair effort rule says is it will be strictly enforced at our district, regional, and state meets. If an individual, so this applies to individuals, if an individual scratches or fails to participate in a finals event, and all of our regional meets, including 1A, will be finals events. They'll all be finals events. So if you fail to participate or scratch in a finals event, then that individual cannot participate in any other events during that meet. In other words, if they scratch out of a field event that morning, they're done for the remainder of the meet. That is the fair effort rule. Okay, it goes into effect when you qualify for that next meet, regional or state meet, with the one exception of we're allowing you to complete that withdrawal form and complete it by that deadline. If you do that, then you will be good and you will be okay under the fair effort rule.
Obviously, if you have a student athlete who's unable to compete on the day of the meet, and you scratch them, then we all understand that. Also, I think that the next thing would be if we're already at the meet and a scratch occurs, yes, we would pull up the next advancer if possible. Usually that doesn't happen. They haven't prepared for that event, so there would be no requirement for them to advance. The other thing about the fair effort rule, it's not in place at most meets we go to. This is a TAPS rule that's been in place for a long time. So if you have questions, if you're going to pull somebody, if you think I'm going to scratch them out of the 100 or out of the 200 and I want to put them in a relay or whatever, please email us at info@taps.biz if you have any questions, and or give us a call so that we will have an opportunity to help walk you through so that everybody stays good. Steve, do we have a couple of questions or are we good to go?
Yeah, we got one question, that something we're going to be covering in a little more detail. But if an athlete is in two field events at the same time, how much time does the athlete have to get from one to the other event? And can they hold horizontal attempts?
We will not hold horizontal attempts. So if they're in high jump or pole vault, they are there because that bar moves up in the increments of that event and does not come back down. We'll cover this in more detail in just a minute when we get to field events. We will help you work through those conflicts, but just hang on to that one. That's a great question. We will help you work through those conflicts, and we'll discuss that. We've got a slide specifically on that here in just a sec.
I think the big thing to remember is we're not going to slow down the meet because of that conflict, whether it be a vertical or a horizontal. Those events are going to go on with or without the students in conflict, and we'll talk about how to walk us through. The host facility rules, just make sure you remember they are allowing teams and athletes to bring water, food, etc. We feel good about that opportunity. There will be no outside food or drink on the homestands, which is for the moms and dads, et cetera. So just remind your folks not to bring outside food or drink. That way they're not surprised when somebody asks them to get rid of their Starbucks that they just bought and it's piping hot. The other side of that will be all fans. We will have a fan info email. We will forward that to you and post it so that you can send that out. Make sure your fans park where they need to park. We will be, for this event, having wristbands on both your athletes and coaches. That is their permission to get onto the infield or to be a part of the event. Mom and dad, spectators will get a different wristband so that gets them into the stands, to the bathrooms, etc., but it will not get them onto the field access. So we're going to work through things as we go forward. We're so grateful for Bastrop for reaching out to us and offering their facility. It's going to be an awesome opportunity. Like, again, I said earlier, we're just so glad to have track back and to be a part of the track world. Robert, talk to us real quick, or Steve, one of you talk to us about opening heights.
Well, I was just going to say, make sure you get your tickets online. We'll be using hometown ticketing again. And again, it's such a great service that we've been able to do. Helps us with our COVID, but also there's a great convenience. So make sure you get your online tickets and we will share that link out. Robert?
All right, thank you, Steve. Opening heights. Remember, at our regional and state meets, we have opening heights, minimum heights for our high jump and our pole vault. At all of our regional meets, all classifications, our high jump girls opening height will be 4.2, boys will be 5.2. So regardless of what your mark was at district, if you qualified, but just know as you come from district to regional, that starting height for high jump will be girls 4.2, boys 5.2. Pole vault, starting height will be girls 6'6", boys 8'6". As we move from regional to state, that goes up just a little bit, 2 inches in the high jump, 6 inches in the pole vault. You can qualify for that regional to state, but just know that when you move on to state, those opening heights move up just a little bit. 4.4 for girls, 5.4 for boys high jump, girls 7 foot, boys 9 foot for pole vault.
So some of you that have been around TAPS for a while, it used to be 6 inches below or 2 inches below the lowest qualifying. That is not the case. So when you show up for the girls high jump and the boys high jump, it's 4.2 and 5.2. That's the opening bar height. Pole vault 6'6" and 8'6". That's the opening bar height. You'll still get your 3 attempts, regardless of what you did at district or what your, what that opportunity is. The one thing I want to mention on both high jump and pole vault, once a definite winner is chosen or you have made that deal and we've broken that tie, that winner will get 1 height to try to do a PR or whatever it is. So once the high jump and pole vault get to the point where there's 1 competitor left, we will give 1 raised height. After that, they will get their 3 attempts at that new height, and then that event is closed. It'll be a little different at state. We will still allow them to move up as long as weather and time allows. But at the regionals, again, once you have declared a winner in the high jump and pole vault, we will then move to 1 additional height at the jumper's choice. And so away we'll go. Robert, lead us into field events, see if we can answer a few of the questions that they might have.
Okay, as we mentioned earlier, your schedule for field events is posted on your particular page, your regional information page. It is a block schedule. It is a rolling schedule. We know most of them take about the same amount of time, but sometimes some get a little ahead of others. Our officials will know we are sensitive to that. All competitors will have the opportunity to get in all their jumps and all their throws, but we need your cooperation to make that happen. What do I do if there's a conflict? The question we had earlier. We will work with you. What you need to do as the coach and the athlete, you need to check in at both places. If you're stuck at pole vault or stuck at high jump, you can't leave there because that takes priority because that bar can't move and you've got to stay until you're finished at that. You need to check in, or if you're tied up, you need to have at a minimum your coach, somebody needs to go over to that other official at that other field event and let them know I am here, I am on site, I will be there as soon as I can, so that official knows to work you in when you get there.
It's extremely important after a previous experience that you don't just have your athlete go to both. If possible, the coach and athlete need to check in at both. So if the high jump is at 4.2 and you know you're going in at 4.6 and that official can let you go get a long or a triple early and at least get 1 qualified mark, definitely. We will work our best to get you all of the attempts, all 6 on the horizontals, whether it be a throw or a jump, but the verticals will take precedence. So Robert, talk to us about implement check-in.
Yeah, before we get to that, while we're on this, we had this question earlier, and it's a great question. Remember, in the throws and the jumps, the long triple, shot and disc, everybody gets 3 attempts. You have to have a good mark in those 3 attempts to get your final 3. After 3, it will be reordered so that the lowest mark goes first, the best mark goes last. You do not get those last 3 attempts unless you have a good legal mark in your first 3. So you could come over in those first 3, get a mark, and then move back and forth between field events if you needed to. But you have to get a mark in those first 3 to earn those last 3. And obviously all 6 for the day. count in the final standings, but you got to get a mark in those first 3 to be eligible to get those last 3 and move on to the finals. So keep that in mind as you go through. Implements. When you're checking in your implements, we need you to mark your implements. For example, you would, the one I have here, 2AB, that'd be 2A boys, or 2AG for 2A girls, and then your school initials. So on your shot or disc, somewhere there with a marker, just mark on there 2AB, FBA, or WCS, or whatever your school initials might be, so we can have some way of knowing where that one belongs, keep them all straight, and also have some school identification if we had a question or needed anything, and so your athletes can identify them. They will be inspected. You'll turn them in between that 7:30, 8:30 window. They will be inspected for weight, for dimensions, and for any defects that would mean that that particular implement could not be used in competition. Remember that once all those implements are taken to the site, anything that's in that pool of implements can be used by any competitors in that particular event. So you can use yours or anyone else's. Once they're approved and in that pool, the pool is available to all competitors. If something happened to your implement, it didn't get approved and didn't get cleared, then you certainly could still compete by using someone else's implement. That's a rule that's a part of those events. For those that do not pass inspection, they can be picked up at the end of the field events, same place you checked them in, roughly in the 2 to 2:30 time frame. We should be done by then. And for girls, please remember, we have this occur every year at regionals because that's the first time a lot of these get checked. The girls shot is 4.0 kilograms. That's 8.8 pounds. There are some 8-pound shots out there that I think are used at junior high and some other meets. That is not the girls' high school shot. The girls' shot is 4.0 kilograms. Double check those, make sure you don't have any issues there.
Along these same lines, both the regional and the state meet are impound meets. So once you turn your disc and your shot in, they are impounded until the end of your classification. We are going to ask that anything that's impounded that did not pass inspection, you can pick those up between 2 and 2:45 between the field events and the running events. And I know this sounds like a silly thing to say, but if it didn't pass at regional, I can guarantee you it won't pass at state. So if you find one that doesn't pass, put it in the back of the trunk or use it as a door weight or something. But once it doesn't pass, it's not going to pass at state with the inspection that they go through if it didn't pass at regional. So again, we will weigh them, we will check for dimensions, and we will check for defects. So just make sure we're on target and on task there. The pole vault, we don't have as many pole vaulters this year from the results I've seen, but we will have pole vault, which is great. You will do your check-in at the event. The coach must sign the pole vault verification and leave that with us at the time of registration. What you're certifying is that the pole is appropriate and in good condition for the vaulter, and that pole, along with tape, et cetera, meets all NFHS rules and regulations. So just keep that as a reminder. And again, depending on the number of entries, classifications may be combined, but genders will not. So Robert, do me a favor and talk real quick about that National Federation change on the long triple and the pole vault as far as warming up, et cetera, and what they are not allowed to do this year.
There is a change. It actually came into effect last year, but I know many people, we didn't host, obviously, regional and state last year. Some of you have had some meets this year, and some maybe not as many as you would like, but there was a change last year with regard to the horizontal jumps, that's long and triple, and then also the runway or the approach for the pole vault. Competitors in warm-up and in competition are not allowed to run backwards or in the non-legal position in those events. That's for safety reasons. That's been in effect for over a year now. I know sometimes people double check their mark or get their mark by doing that. That is not allowed anymore. So that will be enforced at the regional meet. Make sure that you have a rough idea of the mark that your athlete will need so that they're not on the runway running in the opposite or the non-legal direction.
We'll have the tape provided, the official tape there, so you can find your mark. You should know it when you get there. But again, no running backwards. And I'm pretty sure our officials will enforce that. Maybe not with vigor, but I think they'll be vocal about don't do that. So Robert, talk to us a little bit about field event workers.
Help, help, help. We always need your help to run these meets, to run them timely and efficiently. I know you guys in the South, it's been difficult in the past to get a huge number of officials. That will not be the case this year. We have a great group of officials that are coming that have been committed for a long time now. So you will have a great group of officials that will be the person in charge running all of your particular events, but we will need help. You can work and should work in your classification. If you're in 3A boys long jump, then you go down there and you help hold that measuring tape, rake that pit, whatever's necessary with the throws, shag those shots and disc, hold those tapes and marks. The official will be running the event, will be making all the necessary calls, but we need extra help to keep the events moving and to stay on time for the day. Remember, we're running 3 days worth of meets next week. So we need your help to keep the day moving for all of us. In the verticals, the high jump and the pole vault, always coaches have been really good about jumping in and helping. You know that event well. Your assistance is greatly needed. High jump, sometimes we don't get quite as much help. We need your help. You understand the event. You understand the movement of the bar, and that helps tremendously if you're there to help that official move that event along. And obviously, if you're helping, you stay there until that official is done and we've completed that particular event. For the horizontals events, obviously, long and triple, we need people to rake, have those pits ready, keep that one moving. And shot and disc, we'll need some help with the measuring, but also more importantly, retrieving those shot and disc and getting those back quickly for those competitors.
And just as a reminder, that sign-up sheet will be found on the regional meets page. You'll just click on that, north or south, and sign up. I can't tell you how much we need help. We want to keep moving. We want to do this for our student athletes, but it's going to take everybody. So if you've got a couple of JV folks, or if you've got a couple of kids that didn't qualify, but they're coming with you, what a great athletic opportunity to go rake or pick up a shot disc, whatever we can do to help. Much appreciated. Steve, we got any questions before we move forward to running events?
Yeah, good question to lead out of the field events and go into the running events. If I don't have an athlete participating until the afternoon running events, do I need to be at the coaches registration meeting at 7:30, or may I arrive later and check in at that point?
Arriving late is fine. You'll just need to find the awards tent. It'll be clearly marked. It'll be down on the south end of the field, and you'll check in there. Again, we're not starting running till 2:45, but just to encourage people, be early, because we're not slowing the meet down. And if you're not there, you're not going to get that opportunity to advance. Robert, I'm going to talk about workers real quick on the running side. In the past, we struggled at Bastrop. We're going to allow the coaches to be on the infield between the 10 and the 30. It'll give you a good view of the finish and the finish line, and we'll stay out of the timer's way, which we kind of forgot to do the last time we were there. So we're going to try to help Seth Brower and his group out a little bit. We may not have as many hurdlers, but when we do have hurdles, we do need to have hurdle setters. So when we do make that call, we need to be able to move this meet along and not take 10 or 15 minutes to set hurdles. So when you hear that call, anybody that can come down and help, we'll tell you what to do and how to do it. But just any help you can give us is going to be greatly appreciated. Moving on to uniforms, make sure your uniforms are NFHS and TAPS compliant. Robert, talk to us a little bit about what that means for relays.
So for relays, this is one we get all the time. You'll have 4 members of your relay. Some of them may wear some compression shorts or some undergarment underneath their track shorts, and that's fine. If you just have one, then it doesn't matter. But if you have 2 or more, they need to be the same color. They're not all required. If one wears compression shorts or an undergarment, all 4 are not required to do that. But if you have 2 or more, they need to be the same color. So keep that in mind. Another thing we have, uniforms always comes up. If you wear some type of closed leg brief, or if you wear some type of bodysuit or tight suit, you need modesty shorts over that. For our young ladies, you need a regular track shorts over that for our young men.
So we're not going to debate whether it's actually spandex or what actual brand it is or how it looks. If you showed up at the heat tent and they tell you to put modesty shorts on, put modesty shorts on. That includes the field events. So if you're running in a full body suit or a 3/4 suit, or you're running in a closed leg brief or a spandex styled short, make sure you have modesty shorts on the top. That is guys and gals. We always get that question. Another thing along that same line, I don't know why I get this question every year, but we do. Yes, you have to wear shoes to compete. So I wouldn't want to be running on tartan surface with no shoes, but some folks, I guess, feel like the sand between their toes feels good. But those things do come up. If you have questions about the uniforms, obviously we're going to add, it's not an immediate DQ. We will ask you to make that change. If you're unable to make that change, then of course we would have to disqualify. Robert?
Those are in section 186 and 187 of the TAPS bylaws. That's where you can find our list of track and field rules. So just review that if you have any questions. And as always, reach out to us. We'll help you with that.
You know, we always get the question about watches on your distance runners and et cetera. We're going to be as lenient as we can on that and walk through. So if you got a question, just ask us or ask when you get to the heat tent. They're going to be there. The officials will be there to take care of you. And mentioning officials.
Well, there's a question
Okay.
about uniforms about headbands. Are headbands allowed to be worn?
We're not gonna dispute a headband. So if they want to wear a headband, they can wear it. Now, I will say that if you go back and read the National Federation rules, it's very descriptive about what can be on the headband. So again, these officials know the National Federation rules, are certified track and field officials. So they will know that rule probably better than I do or you do. So just make sure you jump on the National Federation, nfhs.org. Grab that book if you haven't got the current book, and make sure you read those uniform rules. Officials are coming from all over South Texas. It will be the first time in a while, especially at the South region, where we will have a plethora of officials. They will be there to work the field events and the running events. So we're excited to have them. If you do have a protest or a complaint, you'll come find myself. I will be there, and then we will go talk to the meet official, the lead official, and have that discussion. Along that same lines with protest, et cetera, if we can, if it's about, hey, if the 100 was by 0.1 or 0.2, and I just got to see that video from my own eyes, we will definitely go look as time allows. We're not going to stop the track meet to go look at a picture or whatever, but we will give that. If it's a true protest, we will ask you to fill out the protest form. That's going to cost you $40. And then we will go present your case to the director and see what they allow and what they don't allow. Also, while we're sitting here, please make sure that in your own camp you figured out, we all have that dreaded ABC school, please report to the finish line. If you've been around track long enough, you know that you've either created a violation or there's a question. So make sure either the head coach or a coach that's your designee shows up. It's one thing to have your school called once. It's a whole nother thing for us to keep calling. So just make sure that you're prepared in the event that occurs. Robert, walk us through the awards, how we get there, and what we're presenting at the regional meets, please.
Okay, points at our regional meet for all events will be awarded through 8th place. So that chart is on our in our bylaws in 186 and 187. We'll follow that chart at regional and state. Individual events and relay awards will be top 4 finishers. So if you're the top 4 at our regional meet, you're advancing on to the state meet. Those individuals will receive, as will the relay team members, a medal. They can go pick those up as the meet progresses. Once an event is completed, approximately 30 minutes or so after that, if we've had no issues, everything's good, those will be posted there and they will become final. And after they are final, your athletes can go by throughout the day, pick those up. We'll have a list there. We'll check them off and know those have been picked up. By the end of the day, you need to have picked up all of those. And certainly at the end of the meet, we'll have all the points added up, and we'll know the team awards. We'll announce those before we leave, and please pick those all up at the awards tent. That'll be in the same general area as the check-in and the hospitality and all of those things. There will be a regional athlete of the meet. Boys and girls for each classification. Those presentations will be made at the state championship meet. We'll make those presentations there, but we will be tracking those points and making that award as well.
So as we move forward, Steve, what other questions do we have?
I think there's a question, maybe more clarification. Can runners wear jewelry?
Jewelry is no longer prohibited, okay, but just make sure it's something that doesn't interfere with the competitor or any other competitor.
I think it's very important if they're wearing a necklace, et cetera, in the high and in the pole vault, you need to take a serious look at that. That's me as a coach. That's me as a trainer. That's me as what happens if that gets caught somewhere it didn't mean to get caught. So it would be allowed, and we will, move forward with that. The idea of watches for your distance runners, we've allowed that in the past. I don't see any restriction on that at the present time. Again, they can wear their Apple Watch, they can wear their whatever watch on one wrist, and on the other hand, they'll have a nice looking wristband that lets them get on the track. So they'll be jewelried out with both the TAPS Tyvek wristband and whatever. So I think the biggest thing that we have right now is let's not get too technical into the world of undergarments. Let's not get too technical into everything else. We will follow National Federation rules. I know that some of you want to wear red, white, and blue undergarments. We'll go back, send us an email on that. We'll give you a direct answer as to how that applies. The hard part for us is once the meet starts, we will follow the officials' interpretation. So make sure that if you've got those questions, you send them ahead. If you have questions, send them to www.taps.biz. After you've looked there at the track page, send them to info at taps.biz, or give us a call here, 254-947-9268. We always want to do the best we can to help you as we move forward into this opportunity. Again, I think uniform violations are there. Robert, on the track exchange zones, hit that real quick just so everybody is familiar with what we're talking about.
Sure. We mentioned the change in the approaches on those horizontals earlier. Another change last year was the exchange zone on the 4x1 and 4x2. So on those two relays, 4x1 and 4x2, the exchange zone was expanded to the entirety of the 30 meters in that area. So it used to be 10 for the what we call the international or the acceleration zone into the exchange zone of 20 meters. That exchange zone is now the full 30 meters. So make sure that should have been what everybody's doing throughout this year. I know we missed it last year, so that was a big change last year that a lot of you didn't get to run and compete with that in place, but that will be in place. That is an absolute change to the NFHS rules that TAPS will honor and will enforce at our meet.
And we know that some schools have not been able to go to very many meets this year. So really want to encourage your athletes, your 2, 3, and 4s, that if they have any question, ask that official while they're out there on the track. Where's my in? Where's my out? What's the situation? Our really hope here is, and I think the National Federation hope was to cut down on those DQs in the 4x2 especially. And I think that by following these options, we've got a really good chance. So again, if your athletes have those questions out there, which triangle, whatever, ask it ahead of time. It's much better to ask instead of being DQ'd. Stevie, what other questions do we have today?
We got a couple that are the same. They want to know about what can be used as markers for the relay handoffs, tennis balls.
Athletic tape,
etc.
athletic tape, athletic tape.
So I could tell them athletic tape. So that's what you're going to use this year.
That's what we're going to use. And when they're done, somebody needs to go out there and get rid of all that athletic tape. So
Very well
if
put.
you're the third leg running in, you're going to pull the fourth leg's tape. So make sure you get that done.
Also, question about TAPS passes being accepted. They're always accepted, but there'll be a process. You'll physically show us the TAPS pass, and then there'll be a sign in with the COVID. Again, everybody else will be online on that. So again, the TAPS passes are there, but you need to present them, and not just a promise of a pass, but the physical pass.
One of the things that'll also, the question came to my mind was, when will the track be open to get your marks? If we're starting running at 2:45 and we're going to do first call at 2:30, 1:30 or thereabouts will be when the track will be open, so you can come get your marks for the 4x1, 4x2, et cetera. So we will be warming up outside. We'll be warming up outside where the grass is and where the jumps are. No one will be allowed on the infield to warm up, with the exception of the 3200s. We would allow them in there since there's nothing else going on. We will allow folks to come in and watch the high jump. Other than that, no one will be allowed on the infield. Coaches, again, we will try to get you from the 10 to the 30, so that that's 20 yards for you to space out on that home stretch to watch your kids and grab your stopwatch and do what coaches do. Steve, anything else before we bail out of here?
No, it looks good. I think we're ready for a great event.
My final thoughts, just so excited to be having track again. We're all track guys. We love what we do, and we love watching the kids try to perform. Again, it is a technical side that goes to it, so make sure you have your rules. Make sure we can discuss those with the officials ahead of time if we have anything we need to know. especially on the south side. If you have any athletes that need accommodation, please make sure we know that as well so that we can inform the starter of what needs may or may not be there. So we look forward to having you. We're excited. The good news is districts are finishing this week. Regionals next week are going to bring us one step closer to state. We will be back at Midway Panther Stadium. We're hoping for that Friday of no rain. We had it last year when we couldn't compete. We're sure looking forward to a repeat of that weather scenario as we go forward. Robert, any final thoughts you have on the track that's upcoming?
Hey, great that we're able to run and host our meets this year. Look forward to seeing you guys. Steve and I'll be up at the north. Brian will be down in the south, so we'll miss you for regionals, but hopefully we'll see everyone at our state meet.
Steve, you got anything to add?
No, we just appreciate it. And we'll be checking the weather with Earth Networks, and we will have a meteorologist watching our spot. So make sure we keep up, and we'll communicate back.
There you go.
If there's any delays.
Questions, info, info@taps.biz. The phone number 254-947-9268. John, you got that house cleaning at the end. Give us that news.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Steve, Robert, and everybody at the TAPS office. And thank you, folks, for being with us here today. Again, this recording will be made available early this afternoon. You'll receive an email to the same address you used to register for this webinar. It's also going to be available on our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/tapsbiz. Thank you, folks, and please enjoy the rest of your day.